You don't need to get comfortable. If you already are, that's fine. And if you're not, that's fine too. Nothing about this requires preparation. Most inductions begin by asking you to do something. Breathe a certain way. Focus on a certain thing. Relax intentionally. This isn't one of those. So whatever your body is doing right now, it can keep doing that. You don't need to quiet your thoughts either. Thoughts are very good at continuing on their own. They don't need help. And if there's noise in the background, inside or outside, that can stay too. Effect doesn't come from control. It comes from relevance shifting. And relevance only shifts when effort steps out of the way. For now, just notice that you're listening. Not how you're listening. Just that listening is already happening. And that noticing doesn't require effort either. There's a habit the mind has of carrying things simply because it has been. Old reactions, background tension, thoughts that repeat themselves out of routine, not because they're needed, just because they haven't been questioned. What's interesting is that most of the time, letting go doesn't feel like an action. It feels like something quietly stopping. Once it realizes no one is asking it to continue. You might be aware of something right now that usually asks for your attention. Maybe it's a thought. Maybe a feeling. There's no need to examine it. You don't need to name it. Just notice that it's there. Or notice that nothing obvious is. Either way is fine. Effect works the same way gravity does. Doesn't announce itself. It just becomes obvious when something moves without being pushed. Sometimes the mind waits for a signal, a moment where it thinks, okay, now something should happen. But effect doesn't use signals. It uses delay. So if nothing feels different yet, that's exactly right. And if something already feels lighter, there's no need to track it. Tracking turns noticing into effort. You know, there's an old trick the mind uses to keep things in place. It checks. Is this gone yet? Is this working? Am I doing this right? That checking is just another way of holding on. So you don't need to stop checking. You also don't need to continue it. It will lose interest on its own once it realizes it's unnecessary. Letting go almost always happens after attention shifts elsewhere, because something else quietly became more relevant. That's why people often say, "I don't know when it happened. I just noticed later that it wasn't there anymore." Affect leaves evidence, not moments. So instead of releasing anything now, just allow things to stay exactly how they are. Whatever is ready to drop already knows how, and whatever isn't doesn't need convincing. You might notice later that reactions soften, or you might notice space where there used to be urgency, or you might notice that old thoughts try to start and then simply don't finish. You might not notice anything at all until you realize you responded differently in a situation that usually hooks you. Affect is subtle like that. You won't need to remember this moment for it to work, and you won't need to credit it either. In fact, the less you associate change with this session, the more naturally it integrates. This isn't something you carry forward. It's something that quietly stops being carried when it's no longer useful. There's no need to end this formally. You can continue listening or move on to whatever comes next. Whatever you choose. There's nothing to complete here. No finish line. No final step. If something lets go later today, or tomorrow, or sometime you don't even notice, that's Affect, doing exactly what it does best, quietly, without trying.